Welcome everyone out there to the Big Book Roundtable and the Rico 12 Recovery family of these resources. Just grateful to have you here today. I'm grateful to be around this virtual roundtable from all over North America with David G. and Nikki M. And I am Justin B. I'm a child of an all-powerful and perfectly loving God and a multidisciplinary addict living in the miraculous, one day at a time recovery promised in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Like I mentioned, I'm joined by David G. and Nikki M. David, why don't you take just a minute and say hi, and then we'll have Nikki do the same.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Justin, thank you for your service. Nikki, always a pleasure to be here with you, sis. I'm David G. I'm an alcoholic addict of many sorts from Oklahoma in the USA. Been given the gift of recovery since August 8, 1994. Really grateful to be here today.
Thank you, David. Nikki, you're up.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nikki M. And I'm so grateful because you know what? These two men have restored my faith in men. And I'm just grateful to be at this table and have this opportunity. It is a gift from God to be able to talk about my favorite book in the world with two of literally my favorite guys. They haven't hurt me yet. And all men will fail me and all humans will fail me, but these two haven't yet. So I'm just so grateful.
Thank you, Nikki, and hopefully we don't hurt you anytime soon. So grateful for that. All right, everybody. What we do in the Big Book Roundtable is we go line by line, paragraph by paragraph through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We have recently started Chapter 7, Working with Others, and we are going to continue our reading there. We're going to pick up on page 90 with the paragraph that starts with "Sometimes it is wise," and we will read through page 91, the paragraph that ends with "has something in the way of a solution." And so grab your big book, follow along with us, make highlights, marks, and take notes as we dive deep into the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Here we go. Sometimes it is wise to wait till he goes on a binge. The family may object to this, but unless he is in a dangerous physical condition, it is better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he is very drunk, unless he is ugly and the family needs your help. Wait for the end of the spree, or at least for a lucid interval. Then let his family or a friend ask him if he wants to quit for good, and if he would go to any extreme to do so. If he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person who has recovered. You should be described to him as one of a fellowship who, as part of their own recovery, try to help others, and who will be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you. If he does not want to see you, never force yourself upon him. Neither should the family hysterically plead with him to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you. They should wait for the end of his next drinking bout. You might place this book where he can see it in the interval. Here, no specific rule can be given. The family must decide these things, but urge them not to be over-anxious, for that might spoil matters. Usually, the family should not try to tell your story. When possible, avoid meeting a man through his family. Approach through a doctor or an institution is a better bet. If your man needs hospitalization, he should have it, but not forcibly unless he is violent. Let the doctor, if he will, tell him he has something in the way of a solution. All right. So in these paragraphs, sometimes when I read these paragraphs, I think, man, this is just telling the family to say, hey, don't worry about it. Things will come around. But man, that's hard to be there in that place when the proverbial crap is hitting the fan. David, why don't you take us a little bit through that line? Start us off through those paragraphs and take us where you feel this can go.
Yeah, happy to, Justin. Thank you. Thank you again for your service, brother. By the time I got to this point in the book in the early 90s and all through the years, actually, I was really in a place to where my conscious contact had become greater. The way that I talked had changed. The way that I acted had changed. The way that I was living had changed. And people began to see the change, and people wanted the change. If people can't see it in you, they can't hear it in you, they don't know it, then they don't want it. They may want to get sober, but we're talking more about recovering from a hopeless state of mind here than we are. I always tell guys, hell, if you want to just get sober, let me save you a whole lot of trouble and a whole lot of work through the book. Just don't drink, just don't act out, just don't obsess, whatever it is, But if you're looking to change your way of life and your character, then there's some things that you're going to have to do. And our book says where you started out today, sometimes, not all times, but sometimes, is wise. And the book's already telling me about wisdom here. This is for me. This isn't for the new man. This is for me. It's wise for me to wait until he goes on a binge. And, I've done that both ways. Sometimes, I do wait until he goes on a strong binge. Sometimes I have him to wait about 8-10 days, especially with the sex addict, more with the sex addict, with the drunk. He needs to have some time away from that type of thinking, really learn how to watch his thoughts, pray and meditate. People say you do that out of order, but I do that for a reason. Most of us don't know how to watch our thoughts. And so, but the book says it's wise to wait until he goes on a binge, and the family may object. The family's usually not involved whenever I talk. Now, through the years, there has been, but not a lot. So really, unless he's in a dangerous physical condition, the book says it's better, it's better to risk. And this is a direction, by the way. It's better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he's very drunk. And I want to zone in on that word very, because for so long I thought that if he was drunk, if he had been drinking, if he had been acting out, really, I didn't want to deal with him at all. I just needed to wait. But the book says no, unless he is very drunk. And there's a big difference between being drunk and being very drunk. I mean, if you're out of your mind, if you're insane, then there's no point in trying to reach someone. It just doesn't work. So if he's ugly and the family needs my help, I've done this both ways. I've asked them to, call other people for help. I don't know, that you said it's a very fine line. So at the end of the spree, usually, the lucid interval, they are more willing to do that, the gift of desperation. So let a family or a friend ask, and I always like to zone in on this word, if he wants to quit. If you want to quit, then there's some things you're going to have to do. It may not be what you want to do, but there's some things that you're going to have to do in order to quit for good. I've taken people in the middle of the night. I've drove people 400 or 500 miles to get into detox. I've pulled all kinds of strings in the past to open up treatment centers. I've sponsored lawyers in this program. I've sponsored judges. I've sponsored doctors. If people's in bad physical health, I call them one of my doctor friends. I have to call on my lawyer friends quite often. And so, it's what we do. And it's what I tell them. I know you're all about the money, but, I was there when you needed help. You need to be here when this man needs help. I'm not saying take on his legal issues for the rest of your life, but at least help him. And a lot of them will do so. So, if me and the people that I work with are willing to go to any extreme to do so, then they need to be too. And if they're not, then I don't work with them. I drop them. I let them go. So, if he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to a person who has recovered. There's a promise, not recovering, a person who has recovered. And if you've not recovered from that hopeless state of mind, I don't care how long you've been sober, you're not going to be of much help to this guy at all. You can't. And you should be described as one of a fellowship who, as part, remembering the doctor's opinion way back on the very first page, he says, as part of our rehabilitation, Bill commenced to present his conception to other alcoholics. Well, here it is again. This is only part of our recovery to help others. There are two other parts to this. And a lot of times, as we've been here for a while, we think that this is the most important part. And it's a very important part, but all three parts are very important. So I don't want to just zone in on one and leave the other two out, because then that's going to hurt me. I'm going to be of little use to him, really. So as part of our own recovery, we try to help others. And word try really jumps out. So if he doesn't want to see you, never force yourself upon him. And I just don't do that. Through maybe in the very beginning, in 30 years ago, I would, but anymore, I just don't do that. And I don't have to force myself at anybody. They usually come to me. And so in the family, it talks a lot about the family. There again, I try to leave the family completely out of it. I've got one mother here in my town. Her son is a hopeless drug addict, and he's just dying. He's a great kid, and she just come to me begging me. And, I hadn't seen her in a long time, and I seen her about a week or so ago. And she's changed. She got into Al-Anon, and she's really changed, the way that she looks at this. And so it's a beautiful program, the Al-Anon family group, man. I just love them. So, wait till he get at the end of his next drinking bout. Why? Because he's going to be more receptive at that time. He's going to be more open. He's going to be more willing. That's what we want. It says place the book where he can see it in the interval, and we do this, but there again, I'm not going to hide a book somewhere so he might stumble up on it and see it. If he wants help, have him call me. We're going to do an interview process on page 90, and we're going to talk for a long time. We need to continue to remember we're still on our first visit right here. We haven't even made it to the second visit yet. From 89 to 96, that's all visit 1. So I'm still in the process of taking this man through. I haven't even agreed to sponsor at this point. So really, these are just things that I'm considering. So the family must decide these things. Urge them not to be over anxious, because that'll probably spoil matters. The family's sick, and unless they have this help, they don't know this stuff. They're not at fault here. But, if he's going to change, they have to change as well. At least that's been my experience up to this point. So anyway, grateful to be here and glad to share. Thank you.
Thank you, David, so much for that. And I just really appreciate your insight, your perspective, and your experience on that. Nikki, how about you? What are some takeaways and things that you have as we read through these paragraphs today?
Well, thank you so much. And I just, I love going through all this because I have never been word for word, line by line through the entire Big Book. So this is just exciting for me. And I love hearing David. So a lot of this is experience, strength, and hope for me because where it says sometimes you have to wait till he goes on a binge. My line out says desperation. Remember, we talked about it. You want people to be desperate. I want you to have the desperation of a drowning person. Now, let's all go deeper. This isn't just for sponsoring. This is for how to parent. I'm going to wait until my son, who's 20 and thinks he knows everything. You guys are both parents, 20-year-old young man, he knows everything. And so I'm going to have to wait till he is real hurting till I can help him because he knows everything. So you can apply this to parenting. You can apply this for sponsorship. You can apply this for everything, and I love this where it says, don't deal with him unless he's very drunk. Now, what does that look like? Don't deal with someone, because I'm a member of Al-Anon. I love that David brought up Al-Anon. So what does it look like when they don't have a substance? I don't deal with them when they are blacked out on emotions. They're just spinning. Have you ever been I know you guys have been blacked out in fear, anger, worry. It's the same as being drunk, high, blacked out. There's no difference. So I can't deal with you. And it says, unless he's ugly and the family needs help. Okay, so I've had to call the police on somebody. She was out of control. Like I've had the Toronto, not the police, the commissioner, like for the Toronto Transit, the TTC is what we call it, the subway system. My sponsee was drunk there. I don't know how they got my number. She may have given it to them. I had to go, blah, 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 bring her to my house. She was out of control. I had to call the police. That's just what I had to do. Sometimes you have to do that. There was no reasoning. There was nothing. She couldn't go home. She was a danger to herself, to society. And thank God she went in the fire truck with the police. It was a nightmare. So sometimes you have to do that, you guys. And then it says, wait till the end of the spree. My line out says, be calm. See, because they need to be calm. I can't talk to a hysterical wife whose husband has just, got a DUI for killing somebody and whatever it looks like, or attempted suicide and they're locked in the hospital. I need them to be calm or at least lucid so we can discuss this issue of alcoholism, and where it says, ask them if they want to quit for good. What does that look like? I need you do you want to change your lifestyle? Because quit drinking, quit calling, your lover, quit eating sugar for good. No, do you want to quit living in this type of lifestyle, being dead asleep on your human experience for good? I mean, I go deep. I sponsor a lot of dry drunks, and I sponsor a lot of people who don't have any substance problems. They just are dying on their emotions. And any extreme isn't come to Toronto. Any extreme isn't, oh, I need you to, turn straight or turn gay or dye your hair blue. Any extreme is, will you follow the exact instructions of this book? And if it's not in the book, I don't want you to do it. Because I've heard things like any extremes. You have to go to this meeting every day. You have to call me at 7 a.m. every morning, even when you're on vacation. Like, think about these things that these humans make their sponsees rely on them for. We're beyond human aid. And I love what David said. It says recovered. I have recovered from a seemingly fake news, hopeless, I'm not hopeless anymore, state of mind and body. And down at the bottom where it says, where the next paragraph where it says, if he doesn't want to see you, don't force yourself. Everybody, that's not just for sponsoring. If your lover doesn't want to see you anymore, don't force yourself on them. This is crazy behavior. Like, this is psychopathic behavior when you're stalking someone, Nikki. He told you he doesn't want to see you. He told you he wants to go back to his wife, and you're destroying someone's life and planning a murder. Like, this is to be applied in all situations, not just for sponsoring, everybody. If your kids don't want to see you, don't force yourself on them, parents. They're grown adults. They're not children. At the bottom where it says the family must decide, my line out says no opinion on outside matters. Why am I forcing my opinion on another person's life? So the family has to decide what's best for them. I can share my experience, strength, and hope. And I love our David G, because he says the word advice is in the book, and it certainly is. And every time he takes me somewhere, I talk about it for days on end. I'm like, oh, the book does talk about advice. Let me take you to that page. I know, Justin, you're smiling because you probably do the same thing when we see these words. Like, yeah, there it is. And so, don't be over anxious. My line out, quit playing God and get to Al-Anon. Just quit playing God, mind your business, and heal yourself. Stop playing God. Stop being a martyr. Stop managing. Stop manipulating. Stop mothering. It leads to murder. And this is written a long time ago. This is my opinion. Doctors, institutions, even the hospitals in Canada are failing a lot of people. So a lot of this doesn't apply to me because we have to get on the firing lines. I'm a soul surgeon. There's no one else to call sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, David. I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I mean, we do things a little bit different fairly regularly in here now, so I can't say it's always different. But I want to share a personal experience I had just yesterday that I think pertains to these paragraphs. And it was outside of 12 steps. It wasn't with a sponsee. It wasn't with anybody that are, at least as far as I know, addicts. They could be. But I was asked to come into a situation where there was a lot of harm, a lot of damage that had been done between two people who used to work together pretty well. And it blew up. And it has been probably over a year that there's been a lot of hatred, perceived hatred, whatever that may be, towards each other. And I was asked to go in and mediate a little bit of a conversation there. And both sides were gratefully willing. It was a lucid interval. And having that conversation with them when they were lucid was really helpful. In this case, I was able to, I almost did nothing. I just came in and said, okay, guys, let's set everything aside. I love the set aside concept and the set aside prayer. Let's set everything aside and have a new understanding of this and see where it goes. And I think for me, this really pertains to this as in practicing these principles and striving to practice these principles in all my affairs, people come to me because they asked me to do this. They were drawn to me as a person who has recovered, is how I see that. They trusted me to be able to be impartial, to be able to practice principles and share things in a way that wouldn't cause things to get worse and could cause some healing. And while I'm not sure that relationship will ever become friends again. At least they are now civil and they can interact without going at each other's throats, at least for yesterday. So hopefully that'll continue. So that's how I'm trying to practice this principle and how I see that in my life. David, do you have any experiences like that where you have been, where people were drawn to you as a person that's recovered and you've been able to help them maybe even outside of the rooms?
Yeah, quite often, actually. A lot of people have come to me, and for the most part, I will do that. I don't like to do that. What I like to have them do is separately go and pray the sick man prayer at the top of page 67 in our book for a time to kind of get their heart prepared and ready for that meeting. If I just bounce in, I haven't had a whole lot of luck with that. Some, but usually it was in my person-to-person meeting where I would run into this the most. People would come in and they would cop a resentment against somebody of what they had said, and they were friends, at the time, and or something would get exposed that probably shouldn't have. And I've done the same as you. I've come in and sat down with them and just said, look, guys, let's try to put all of the drama, all of the shit aside, and let's look at the principle of love here. Do you hate this man? No. Do you love him? Look beyond all of the bullshit. Do you love him? Yes. Then that's what we need to focus on moving forward. Because it says, way back over, we read it in one of the sessions, is that, our former ill feelings, the book says, former being the key word. And I don't know, issues are real. I get it. But really, it comes from a state of mind that I'm in. You can say something to me one day, and if I am spiritually fit, I promise you that's not going to touch me at all. If I'm not spiritually fit, you can bet I'm going to come at you guns blazing. And so it really depends. So if those two people are both in that spot, neither one of them are spiritually fit. That's why they were drawn to us to begin with. So, that's been my experience. And I've had so many experiences with that. But I just love it. I just love to be able to, bring the peace of God back into any situation where two or more are gathered. I'll be there, on the same accord, it says. So, I believe that with all my heart. So anyway, that's my experience. Thanks, Justin.
Thank you for sharing that, David. Nikki, do you have anything like that you'd like to share, or anything else going on that comes to mind as we discuss this?
Yes, as I was listening to you guys, I just realized, I'm a soul surgeon. Where's that? What university did you go for that? The School of Hard Knocks. So every day I'm doing this stuff. Like, I have people coming to me and asking me a lot of things, especially because, we're just coming out of a pandemic. And so there was a bunch of stuff around that. So people will see, how are you living even when you didn't follow the mandates? They're shocked as, how do I live and I don't have a job? That's what they'll come to me. Who pays your bills, Nikki? And then when I say God, they don't understand how it works. And so I do get a lot of people who come to me and ask me, how does this work when you spend all day in a bathrobe, Nikki? And I just say, the truth, which is, this is a magic book. I live a magic lifestyle. And my boyfriend taught me this. I think I've talked about it on the podcast. He'll say, I'm special. And I'll say, well, in English, that's very arrogant to say. And now I realize, I'm special too. We're all special, but a lot of people don't believe it. See, I believe it. And so I get this a lot from people because I have recovered and magic happens in my world. So you can be anything you want to be when you do this lifestyle and you do this work. So I'm a soul surgeon. I charge nothing. And the paycheck is freedom, happiness, peace of mind. You can get this job too. There's tons we need business. We need people. The applications are open. Okay, everyone apply.
I love that. Absolutely. And when you out there in the listening audience have recovered, you don't have to go looking for business. It'll come to you. They'll see the light in your eyes, and without any effort on your part, God will do for you that which you have not been able to do for yourself for decades on end. And that's my experience with this. Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much, Nikki, for walking through these paragraphs with us. Next time we'll pick up on the next few paragraphs. But thank you, everybody, for coming out and listening to this. Keep coming back. Come trudge this happy road of destiny with us. Work it. You are worth it.